everybody. My name is Dr. Hitesh Batavia from Ravenscourt Dental Practice, Holistic Dental Care. In the present times, we all have gone through some very difficult times and stayed at home quite a lot. Unfortunately, one of the consequences of staying at home quite a lot means your old habits are reinforced. What I mean by that is if you've got a sweet tooth, you end up having a lot more sweets. If you like lots of coffee, then you end up having lots of coffee. You know it. I know it. It's not that good for us. But it's quite difficult to actually get out of that habit sometimes, don't you find? So I have here given some thoughts as to how to break habits. And I think obviously for me here, it's partly how I can encourage and motivate patients to give up sugars on a regular basis, or sugars which they have very frequently. So what I do for that matter is I start thinking along the lines of, if you have a baby or a child, would you allow that baby to do what they want? Answer is probably most for us, no, you will not. And therefore, why don't we start considering of a habit as a baby? And generally what a baby does is it says, I want, and you give, or you say, no, you don't have. So think of your mouth. Think of your mouth as a baby and your brain as yourself as the adult. So the brain has to start giving messages to the baby that they can't have it. But the other thing you can do is you can say what they will have instead. So, for example, you have to first start giving yourself messages of, you say, okay, I'm ready to give up having so many chocolates a day or so many sweets a day. So the first thing you do is say to your mind, that's what I'm going to do. So the mind has to tell yourself, self-belief and self-reinforcement, every day, 2 to 3 times a day, you remind yourself, morning when you wake up, middle of the day, before you go to bed. You don't need so many sweets. However, I will have X, Y, Z. So you can have things which are not sugary. There could be vegetables, there could be various other things, and I'm sure you can find those, and at some point I can give you some further ideas on that as well. Having said that, you'll find alternatives as well. Then the alternatives will be things like chopped vegetables, cheese biscuits, hummus. You can make some rolls, you can bake some vegetables, dress them with different things. Idea is to be prepared. So when we want to change habits, you need to be prepared. You keep things ready, and so when you next feel like having it, you've got something to have. Don't get yourself to the situation where you're very desperate or hungry, and then suddenly you find you end up having the chocolate. Okay, so that's the first thing. So simply because the mouth wants something doesn't mean the mind shouldn't give it. The funny thing with the mouth is, and all of us probably have done this at some point in our lives, initially the mouth is quite stubborn. It doesn't like a change, it likes what it likes. But as you actually talk to it and as you give it the different options, you suddenly find you no longer need it. I remember for myself many decades ago when I gave up sugar in coffee. After about a month when I had coffee mistakenly with a bit of sugar, somebody gave it to me and I could not stand it. Now, my idea here is have some self-belief. Realize you can make some changes. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and allow yourself to make those changes. I hope you enjoy this little tussle with your mind and make the change.